Half-sword. What if Henry just did Gutenberg tournaments the game? I enjoy half-sword a lot and figured I'd yap about it since I want to help a few people get better and show others the game. It's also not an excuse to yap about combat and weapons. Trust me, please, I beg, it's not. I'd never do that. So let's start with the basics. In half-sword, there are multiple tiers. Each tier you go up, you get better equipment and armor. There isn't much to talk about. You start out as a shit-ass broke bitch, and you become a less broke bitch, and then you become a rich broke bitch. Then you're suddenly the Baron, and you have a shit ton of stuff that's golden. The only real thing to bring up is that once you reach the end of a rank, you have to do a tournament to get the next one. Each tournament has two duels, 2 doubles, and 3 triples. The last battle having someone who has more gear than the rest from the next rank, and at night tier, this is replaced by the Baron. In total, there is 9 tiers. There's a variety of ways for you to kill some poor person who didn't want to die. The basic simple game modes are duels, doubles, and Burhurt. I should note you need to hire mercenaries to have them as teammates in anything above 1v1s, but I'd suggest learning how to take on these fights solo so you can save him more gold instead of paying some other bastard. Some other game modes are Bridge, Carnage, and Brawls. These are unique game modes. Bridge has you fight on a bridge in a 1v1. Carnage is a free-for-all fight with 5 people. Brawls are 1v1 fistfights. The final universal game mode is Champion. This is someone who has better gear than most other people you'll fight in your rank and sometimes has gear from a rank above. These guys can be a really nice source of gear if you're struggling and don't have enough armor to take on fights. If you can win one of these, it can help you a lot, and you'll get some very nice weapons from them. There's a couple more game modes that aren't mentioned that are less universal, such as Blossfechten and Riot. These are unique in that Blossfechten only starts when you reach Commoner, and Riot only starts when you reach Men-at-Arms. Blossfechten is my favorite mode. It's sword fights without armor. High risk, a bit of a medium reward, not that good, but, you know, it's still fun. Riot's are a 1v5 game mode where you fight units from Beggar to Soldier tier, or just a mix of 5 units. They can be a fun change of pace, they're for a good reward of 125 per battle, and they're just low risk for pretty easy reward. Outside of killing people, don't do that. The final game mode I should bring up is the Abyss. You kill a Willy. Oh no, who cares, right? His wife and kids can't do anything about it, so you're free to keep killing. Wrong. 4,000 dead men will drag you to hell. Whenever you kill someone, they want their revenge. So if you die in combat, you go to the Abyss and have a chance at life again if you beat all souls and seek revenge. This is why killing is bad. Not because you're ending someone's life, it's because you're gonna have to fight him later. In the Abyss, they will bite, and they are much stronger to blunt damage. Blades your friends here. Try not to kill knights, because they are a very big fucking pain in the ass. I spent like 40 minutes trying to kill 27 knights. Don't kill people unless you need to, or you're really good at the game. Just avoid killing unless you're like never gonna die. Alright? Before I start on weapons, I should talk about grips, since this is something that I was completely unaware of for a long time, and I didn't know until recently. Outside of half-swording. You have a basic stance, and then once you hit right mouse button, you'll switch to the alternative stance. Now, if you have one-handed weapons, this will be two-handing them. If you have two-handed weapons, this will be half-swording. Half-swording is where you grip the blade with your hand. It's useful for when you're in a grapple and want to get some leverage. However, there's some even more grips you can do. If you're holding it in the basic grip and you hold X, you'll switch to a reverse grip. This is fucking useless in a lot of cases unless you're stabbing some guy on the ground. If you hold X while half-swording, you'll switch to Mordhowl. Mordhowl. You're gonna beat a fucker with the pommel grip you have, alright? You're gonna smash him in the fucking head with that grip. You're gonna hold the blade. Half-sword has a lot of weapons, so I'm gonna do a quick simple rundown. Blades do good against no armor, but risk killing. Killing, bad. Blunt weapons are still really good, but can do more against armored opponents. Try to keep a blade and blunt weapon in your backups as you fight, just in case you have a bit of variety, and if you need one or the other. It just helps you a lot, and you don't want to be caught without one. I suggest, if you're dying a lot, use blunt weapons, because yes, they can take a few more hits. However, they are less likely to kill the person unless you crack their skull. Which is really good if you're still trying to learn at the game and get better, etc, etc. So I'd suggest blunt weapons, but once you're confident, move on to blades such as messes, which I'll cover shortly. And in saying that, let's start talking about weapons. Maces are good early game weapons since they aren't as likely to kill and they can quickly knock people into submission. A two-handed heavy mace can give you the range and hitting force to blow through the early ranks pretty easily. As you go up in ranks when you make your own mace, you can get more complex heads, some with spikes or more points. While on the topic of maces, I am going to mention casted maces. These come up much later, I think it's around the men-at-arms rank. They're very expensive, and they are marginally better. They look really nice. They just have a lot more points on them, so they're more likely to cause bleeding when you hit someone. And otherwise, they're just another mace, and that kind of is what it is. Halfeds are goated. They are really adaptive in the early game and are really nice secondary in the late game. Want an axe? Make a halfed. Want a fancy mace? Halfed again. Want a long axe? You guessed it. Halfed. Want a really short one? It's just a halfed, man. Halfed is just the best item out there for generally early game, and you can make it around the commoner rank, or steal one from a champion. Well, I should tell you to make a mace or a warhammer with the halfed. The axe is pretty damn fucking good. As mentioned earlier, killing people is bad. Don't kill people. With an axe, you can play the low ranks where you have little protection and not have to worry about at all. Just don't die and you're fine. The axe has really good weight, so it does really good blunt damage if you had to even hit them with the side of the axe, and it just slices them up. I was surprised. I used to run maces, and then I kind of decided to go through again with a halfter to replay, so I could like give my advice better, use some weapons I'm not used to. Because I've beaten the Baron a few times now. I've got all the Baron gear twice over, so I figured I'd replay, and I picked a halfter, and instead of making it a hammer, I made it an axe, and it's fucking good. I suggest a halfted all the way. If you can make a halfted and you have the money for it, get a fucking halfted. They are nice. Messes are the earliest sword-like weapon you get. They are only one-sided blades, and they are often short, and they're often more like, they're the older blade styles, falchions, kind of the broad blades, not the great ones. Messes make for a poor sword once you get to the rank where you can actually make the double-bladed swords and all that. And while I prefer an axe or a mace, messes can be really helpful early on to get to there. Once you get to later ranks, they only really become viable as daggers, since you can just make a better sword. The most use I got out of messes was an offhand dagger while wielding some one-handed weapon. For a while I was doing that, and it was just where I got the best use out of them. They can be nice for trying, if you've got someone that's really refusing to submit or something, and you're struggling to hit them, you can just get a messer, a short messer and a dagger, and reverse grip it and stab them on the ground. And it's a really nice way to kill them, but it's just not that great. I keep one on me for tertiary weapon just in case, but mess is kind of easy to forget. Swords are what I imagine most people use the most, whether it be a longsword or an arming sword. These are just a really nice weapon. You can never fail with a longsword as a primary during the early to mid tiers, and it makes for an excellent backup weapon once you get to the later tiers. Once you get to ranks like Militia Veteran and etc., the great swords become an option. Just grab one of them and keep a longsword as a backup. Shorter arming swords or one-handed swords can be good if you're trying to do sword and shield combat. Or you can just lock in and one-hand a longsword. It's not that bad. I also refuse to talk about half swords. No? What? Me when I lie? What I was meant to say is I refuse to talk about swords that are hand and a half. You can't make me. I never will. Forget that bastardization of a long sword with a short sword grip. Just end it all. I am never talking about that. Fuck that. Great swords are the largest sword you can get in the game. These cannot be sheathed, and they offer insanely long range. A nice well-balanced greatsword offers really good leverage to striking. They are less effective against armored opponents because they're a sword, but because of their typically being heavier, they can do double duty against them. Like any other sword, if you half-sword it, you can try and get it into a gap in the armor or push your opponent to the ground, and they're really nice for leverage. Where great swords shine is in Blossfechten or Riots. Without the armor, your extended range means more, and you can fight opponents off without them getting close enough to hurt you. The best weapon for dealing in unarmed opponents? In higher ranks, like easily. I love great swords. I kind of wish you could sheath them, but sadly, you can't. Otherwise, I think they're very good, and they're a must-have at the later ranks if you're not using a poleaxe. Poleaxes are even more goated than half-swords. A nice and heavy poleaxe is capable of dropping an annoying-ass knight in one hit to a soft little skull. What makes poleaxes so good at that point? You can pick from many things to make them. Axe heads, hammer heads, straight-up anti-armor spikes. So much. And you can change which positions they're on. This means you can just about fight anything. Unarmored, axe head. Armored, one of the spikes into his armor. Or a hammer to knock them out cold. If any weapon should be a primary weapon, it should be some form of poleaxe, because I fucking love them. A good, well-made poleaxe can do just about anything. Pole arms, while we're on the topic of pole axes, are just kind of worse in a lot of cases, but you get them a lot earlier. These are things like bill hooks, bardaches, and spears. They can be helpful, but I don't like them. They're very nice when enemies start getting pole arms and pole axes because they allow you to hit at equal distance. I'm not fond of them, though, as stated. I just rather get a pole axe or use a long halfsword or a greatsword, which you can get around the same time. Crossbows are God's gift to man. They can be a very fun opening weapon once you've insured them so you don't lose them in low to mid tier before people start getting too much armor. You can just shoot a guy and watch him crumple, and if you miss, you drop it, you pull out your next weapon. If you hit, the fight can be over unless it's 2v2, in which you're now down a guy and it's just a duel. I like it. We only have light crossbows currently in the game, so the second you see armor, they're not very useful. Like, even shields won't be penned by these crossbows. And the crossbows are a little hard to aim, and a lot of the time you're only going to have one loaded, so you're not going to have multiple shots. It is really fun to play stuff like Riots with a crossbow and just shoot the first guy, the most armored guy you see. I like crossbows. If you're struggling, a crossbow can really help bring down the fight, especially during tournaments. If you're struggling with the tournaments, I suggest keeping a crossbow and making sure to pick it up between the rounds. So you can just shoot the strongest guy there, and then you've just made a 2v2 or 1v1 or 2v3, 3v2, 2v3, a 3v3, a 1v3, 2v3, a 1v3, a 3v2, a 1v3, a 1v2. Yeah. Now, plate armor needs an arming doublet. You want a cuirass to protect your chest. One with patterns of folds is the best, so they offer even more protection, and you must make sure they have a backplate. Once you get to the late game, you want to place the God's Gift, that is the kettle helm with an armet, or something similar. I really fuck with the ones with the plumes, and they offer really good protection. While I could name all the armor, it's all simple enough that I think you can figure it out. Chainmail is a good must, even if you're covering it with plate. And a standout to protect your neck is good. Make sure to extend your chainmail down and get the long sleeves modification so that you're even more protected. With all of that, you can throw a tabard over top to look really nice. Tabards are just an outer layer that goes over the armor. And you can make them whatever color you want at the armor smith, so you can change the color. I keep mine purple, you know. Now, a little off script here. There was so much more I should be explaining, but I just don't have it in me. So, like, there's gambeson, what's a good sallet or armet, what type of cuirass to use, what arm and leg protection, but, like, you could probably figure all that out. You know, you just want the most protection in general, because being heavy doesn't really have a downside, because a lot of the battles are short enough and you're not really going anywhere, so being overweight, it doesn't matter if you're almost heavy. So go whatever you like the look of and gives the most protection. It's all really helpful in the end. So, just have fun with it.
Hi, I'm the editor. Asher forgot to record the last bit he wrote in the script, and he just kind of left me with it. And I honestly deserve this with how long I kept this video on the back burner, but I'm going to read it out for him. That's the game modes and equipment and half-sword explained. A really big fucking yap that didn't cover the original point I made this video for. I love this game, and while I think it's a hit and miss game, I want others to enjoy it. So I hope all my yapping helps someone. I'd like to say thank you to whoever helped in this production. Your credits will be in these fuck-ass credits I do. I should do the normal stuff like and subscribe, but like, no, only if you want to. I don't know when I will return to this channel again. I think last time I said it would be 7 months, and it's been a lot more than that. A lot more than that.